video that looks a little more in depth on wyverns and their specific special ability ranges, and also talking about the effects and how they work. We're also going to be testing a couple little things like how far apart the cone is on the wyvern's flame attack, whether or not the poison wyvern will penetrate buildings, and also how well the lightning wyvern can penetrate multiple targets. I'm also going to kind of go over which wyvern I think is the best. I know everybody asks that all the time. I'm constantly seeing posts asking which one's the best, which one's the best. It's a little bit personal preference. I'm going to give you mine and why I think that way, and then based off of what we see in these videos, you can decide on yourself which one you think is the best. So to lay out how we're doing this, I've placed foundations with pillars indicating, one foundation. Obviously, they start to run together when you get this many. And then I have billboards marking increments of 5 up to 29 foundations. I couldn't get 30 because the hill slopes up and it wouldn't allow me to place a ceiling there. And then the range starts at 10 foundations as far as the billboards go. It goes all the way back to 1, obviously. I didn't feel the need to mark 5 because if something starts at 5, then that's pretty terrible. So what we're going to be doing, full disclaimer, I went to go make this video on the Scorched Earth map on my actual play server, and it just was not working for me. The first thing that happened was I went to go test it, and I had a sandstorm happen, which really kind of impeded testing. And then after the sandstorm, I was having issues with the raptors that I had tamed in order to use for targets. The lightning was straight not hitting them. And because it wasn't hitting them, I don't know, I mean, it should have been hitting them, but I basically ended up with a raptor sitting at 5 foundations out from the lightning wyvern, and it wasn't hitting it. And I kind of got mad. I ran up there, I chomped it, and then I started going back to my base, and I turned around and a vulture was eating the corpse, and I was able to zap a vulture from I don't know, it was 10 foundations away. So I was like, what the hell, this whole thing isn't working right. So I took a camel out on my play server and murdered it out of frustration, and that I had 0 issues with. And so I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, I'll use camels. And after having murdered one of my 3 water camels, I was like, you know what, I'd really rather not do that. So we're just going to go ahead and go on a local server. I'll spawn in everything that I need. I can test this properly, and the results will be a little more precise instead of being a jumbled mess. So I want to start with the fire wyvern. If you're unfamiliar with how this guy works, he does a fire breath attack, like so. It's supposed to be kind of a shorter range, conal type AoE attack. We'll test the cone after I demonstrate the range. So with the range, this is a little kind of finicky to get this guy centered up on here. As you can see, it's burning. It did get hit by the attack. The range seems to be right about 10 foundations. I'm not going to go into the damage. I haven't put any points in. These guys are basically base damage tames. It's 10 foundations. Sometimes it seems to hit right around 9. I'm doing my best to start the measurements from their head. So right around 10 foundations seems to be the max length of this guy. I had a lot of guys argue with me on Reddit that that the fire dragon's range was really long. If you look at the animation and go by that, then yeah, it seems to reach right out to about 15, 18 foundations in length. The animation is much more robust than the actual bite. So the bark is much worse than the bite as far as the flames go. while it looks like this guy has some good range to him, it's actually fairly short, which I think that's what most people were under the impression of, but it seems that there's a couple people out there who insist that the Fire Wyvern actually has some pretty solid range and has no problems like competing with the Lightning as far as distance goes. Whoop, now we're gonna have issues again. Excellent. I really don't get what is going on with these guys. Okay, there we go. So, okay, the Fire Wyvern is supposed to be kind of like a conal, and then it also leaves a damage over time. The cone really does not seem to be all that much. I mean, granted, I'm trying to do this at like a maximum distance, so that could also be part of it. We'll move him a little closer here in a second. Now again, I'm not going to try and measure the we got two of them. Alright, so it's a fairly, it's not a very wide cone, from what it looks like. That's like what, like a 15-degree cone? I'm not going to be measuring the damage on these. It's just a little more in-depth than what I want to go for today. Maybe in a follow-up video if it's really that big of a deal. I'm not really a big number crunch type person, so for me, doing the specific damages of their base attacks and then also their specials, and then figuring out how much the multiplier changes it and everything, it's not for me. Let's see, 20 foundations. It was either 19 or 18 for the Lightning, if I remember right. Oh, hey, here's a fun little factoid that I learned the hard way while I was making the other video that just ended up being a giant mess. If you dismount on the Lightning Wyvern, it has a chance of electrocuting you. Kind of similar to how the Poison Wyvern can kill you. I didn't get in front of it while it was channeling it still, but it definitely murdered me. So I'm not sure if it went to try to do the thing that tames usually do, where they look up or look at you, but it totally fried me dead in my place, or dead where I stood. So when you're channeling this, the Lightning Wyverns, don't dismount. Now it's not going to do it. Alright. So I'm a dirty liar, it seems. So it's 18 foundations in distance for the Lightning Wyvern. It's not incredibly long, but 18 over like 9 to 10, it puts it at like double the length for the fire, which was about kind of where I saw it being. The thing with the Lightning Wyvern is it's channeled and that it also applies torpor. It's not a huge thing, like don't try to use a Lightning Wyvern for taming stuff, but it might be good for knocking somebody out and putting them out of the fight. If you clip them while you're like fighting other people, like multiple people, they're knocked out and you know they can't respawn because they're torpored out. The other thing with lightning, even though it was kind of hard to like demonstrate it, I should have hit them once and then gotten off. is that it can penetrate multiple targets while it's channeling. This is great for especially when you're doing the Wyvern Trench cave, because say you grab an egg and you immediately get on your mount. If you're just trying to clear out the whole trench, what I would do is I grab the egg, I jump on my lightning wyvern, and I just let them start coming at me. And as they all kind of stack up as they're approaching the entrance, I'll go ahead and blast them with the lightning. And anything that isn't a wild lightning, will usually die as it's approaching me. If not, I just start chomping. But that's one of the kind of like really convenient things about the lightning is that you have that sort of penetrating lightning breath attack that you can use to kind of thin out groups of like wilds. Whereas the fire, while you have that kind of like conal short range ignition type deal or whatever, the dot is kind of not my thing. I want something to die the quicker the better. I'm sure it would be great in PvP circumstances where you light somebody on fire, they're running away trying to retreat, say they get inside their base, but they're on fire and they still end up dying and you still, take them out of the fight for a while. I can totally see that being like, hey, a useful trait in the Fire Wyvern. However, for me personally, I don't PvP much anymore. It's just not my thing. I had some fun with it back in the day, but it just feels really unbalanced, so I just don't really partake in it anymore. So for me, the dot just doesn't do much. It just means that I'm taking damage longer when I'm fighting wilds. Okay, so the Poison Wyvern, full disclaimer, I've already tested this. My range here goes out to 29 foundations, roughly. And it's not big enough. It seems to be right around 33 to 35 foundations long, is how far the Poison Wyvern goes. Yep, no joke. So the Poison Wyvern is actually the farthest ranged wyvern. Yeah, look at that. That's some distance. Now, the biggest thing to keep in mind, while it does obviously rule the distance game, is that it is the slowest moving projectile in the game. Oh man, I'm gonna have a real pain in the ass trying to hit this guy again. Oh, no. That's a great way to kill me. Now, while the distance is 35 roughly, there we go. It's incredibly difficult to accurately aim these guys that far out. Like if you're trying to pinpoint hit something. Okay, you can kind of see he's bloody down there. So it is hitting him. You be the judge. That might be right around 32 foundations. I'm pretty sure I can go up to 35 because the last time I had him basically like right here. But it was really weirding me out because I'm nervous of the rocks. Because even if I have God mode codes on, it will still insta-kill me. And then I have to go through the whole process of coming back and getting everything set up again. And I just don't want to deal with it. So the Poison Wyvern's poison or acid cloud goes roughly like, let's say 33, 32 foundations. But as I mentioned, it's very, very slow. The projectile is incredibly slow. If you're trying to fight another wyvern, let's say, you're going to have to basically be doing it at very close range. Otherwise, they're going to easily maneuver out of the bolt. I mean, there's just no way that you're going to hit somebody with it. If you're attacking ground targets, you could use it for like strafing in on them. Like, let's say an enemy compound. You could use it for like, say, coming in at them and like shooting in multiple like acid clouds and then flying away. The problem is, again, aiming this thing is such a pain in the ass. I've tried to like nail it down and it's just so much work. For a while I thought it was just okay, well, I point the center of my screen, but but then I realized it also depends on if you're moving or not. If you're not moving, the head is arced differently, and it actually kind of affects your aiming versus when you're moving. So mess with it if you have a poison wyvern. If you get good at aiming it, that's great. I feel like that poison cloud could be used for quite a few different things. However, it's very, very slow. So an active player target is not going to happen. It's not bad for like cleaning out wilds that are far away from you. However, keep in mind, if it's something that's fighting you up close and you use it, the poison cloud in close range will hit you while you're riding. So don't use it any further than like this, or any closer than this. If you do it close range, it can hit you and kill you. I do have God mode on. That might be part of why I'm not dying, just because I was doing a lot of like teleporting out here and falling. The other thing I really wanted to test, and I was curious about, nobody mentioned it or requested it, but whether or not you could use the poison cloud to attack people who are bunkered up in their own buildings. Like say you're sieging a building or a compound, and you know there's somebody like respawning on say beds or anything like that in there. I was really curious if the cloud would hit inside of a building. So you could, in essence, suppress somebody or suppress defenders in place so that they weren't able to get to you. And it looks like he is full health, so no bueno yet. Let's move him a little closer to the wall and see if that gets us anywhere. This was one of the only like practical uses I could think of with the poison. So if this doesn't work, I really have nothing but mostly negative things to say about the poison wyvern. And full health. So we can't hit the so the cloud doesn't like go all gas mode through through building walls, which is really depressing. I honestly thought that it would. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about which ones I rank in order. The bottom is the poison wyvern. The reason being, the projectile speed is super slow. It's easily avoidable. I've had multiple instances on Scorched Earth where the cloud erupts and targets inside of the cloud are taking basically no damage even though they remain inside of the cloud. I see this a lot when I cage up enemy wyverns or wild wyverns, and after I've milked them I'll go ahead and try and hit them with the poison cloud, and even when the poison bolt goes through the gaps in my cage and it clearly is exploding inside of the cage, they take like trivial damage if any. This is really kind of like depressing. Yes, I understand you can't do it against other poison types. I'm aware. I'm not talking about that. I mean, legitimately, the poison cloud seems really kind of underwhelming. I basically almost never use it on my poison wyverns. I've started building them for basically just biting. The other reason I don't like it is because if you are using it close range and aren't in admin mode, it can kill you. I mean, what the heck? This thing is just literally, it's good for looking kind of cool and aggressive, and that's pretty much it. You could use it in theory for bombarding an enemy compound at range, maybe like a stationary flying artillery type deal if you know nobody's around. The problem is, as soon as defenders start coming at you with either Argents or, you know, whatever it may be, you have like zero like turn fighting capability compared to other enemy options, like an Argent. If it gets inside your turn radius, you're never going to be able to get in on it in order to bite it or hit it with poison. So that's the reason that, to me, the poison wyvern, it's the most difficult one to use, and the reward for that difficulty really doesn't feel like it's proportionate. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, honestly, if I'm in the wyvern cave and I see a 140 plus egg for a poison wyvern, I usually eat it. I don't even care about collecting them anymore. The number 2 wyvern, in my opinion, is the fire wyvern. It's a really great brawler. Every egg I've hatched they usually seem to start with a little more in the health department than the other two subspecies of wyvern. So I kind of feel like with its short range and conal attack and the health bonus, I mean, which might just be complete random luck on my part every time, I feel like the Fire Wyvern is a really good close-in brawler. It's great for, like, getting in there and tanking the enemy tames as, like, you murder them and get support by your allies. As far as using it in the Wyvern Trench, it's really great. The extra health allows you to basically soak up and tank enemy or wild wyverns. With it being a fire type, it won't take damage from other fires. So that's always a bonus. You're not sitting there pulsing on fire as you're grabbing eggs and killing off the wilds. Whereas with the poison wyvern, it doesn't matter that your poison wyvern doesn't take poison damage from other poisons, because the poison damage from wilds will kill you off of the mount. Whereas the fire, you're good because your guy's immune to it. My number one choice is the lightning wyvern. The reason being, the range is pretty solid. While it isn't the drastically insane long range of the poison wyvern, it is a pretty decent range. It's a channeled attack. It penetrates multiple targets, and on top of that, on top of it being a channeled and penetrating attack, you're immune to it from wild wyverns, which is a huge deal if you're doing the wyvern trench. The reason being is lightnings are, in my opinion, the most deadly threat in that trench. I'm honestly more worried about going into the wyvern trench on a non-lightning wyvern. I'm more worried about lightnings than I am alpha wyverns. The alphas to me seem kind of underwhelming. I really don't take that much damage when I'm tanking them. Whereas a pair of high-level mate boosted lightning wyverns can kill me. That's actually how I ended up losing my my first fire wyvern. Was getting caught by a couple of lightnings, and I got stuck and couldn't run away, and they just decimated me and killed my favorite jerboa. Oh no, that jerboa died on the bird. Never mind, that was just me dying with my fire wyvern. So that is, in my opinion, the way that these guys stack out. I know everybody's going to have their own favorite. Cosmetically, I love the poison wyvern. I tried really hard to love it. I tried really hard to get super proficient with it, but I just can't get over the speed of the projectile and how underwhelming the effect of it is. The fire wyvern, it looks really cool. The AoE is cool. Who doesn't want to breathe fire? You might like that one more than the lightning. You might be able to say, hey, I don't mind that the range is a little less. I mean, 10 to 18, it's not huge, especially depending on your play style. I will say that the lightning attack is kind of a pain to aim sometimes. You'll say you'll be aiming dead center, and you'll hit the wyvern's lightning attack, and you still have to kind of swivel them around to get to where you want. It can be a real pain in the butt when they don't do specifically what you want with that channel. So I totally understand people who are kind of more into the fire, because let's face it, that dude breathes fire from his face out pretty much every time, and it's a lot easier to aim and kind of hit stuff with. These are just my opinions. The main focus of this video was demonstrating what the range was, and then also testing a couple little side range tests, I guess you could call them. If you have questions about these guys, by all means ask, as long as you're not asking for specific, what does this much damage with this much points do, type stuff. Right now I'm not going to be testing that. Maybe in the future, we'll see. But currently it's not something I really want to get into. So if you have questions, by all means ask on the YouTube video page, or if this gets posted in any forums, feel free to ask. If not, then I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. I hope this kind of settles the whole which one has the longest range debate. Personally, I came into this totally thinking that lightning and poison were basically neck and neck, and it ended up being that poison was drastically further. And while that distance is like incredible, the damage to me just doesn't justify being more into the poison. So I guess that's it for this video. I'm Failure to Report. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, please feel free to subscribe. That way you automatically know when I make new Ark-related stuff. You don't need a sub. I would do my best to try and post this on Reddit whenever I make something that I'm hoping is either helping people or informing them on stuff. I think that's it for this round, and I will see you guys out in the desert. Thank you for watching.